Hey there and welcome. Today we're diving into an idea we see in every single story we hear or read, point of view. And it seems super simple on the surface, but it has this incredible depth that might just change how you see, well, pretty much everything. Just think about that for a second. That last book you couldn't put down, or that movie that had you totally hooked. Whose head were you in? That single choice, who gets to tell the story, shapes the entire experience. So, to really get into this, we need to make sure we're all on the same page. Let's start with the classic, literary definition. The real nuts and bolts of how authors build a point of view from the ground up. Okay, so at its core, point of view, or POV for short, is really just the lens the author hands us. Think of it like the camera angle for the movie playing in your mind. Is it a tight close-up on just one person's thoughts, or is it that big, sweeping wide shot that sees the whole scene? It pretty much boils down to two main types: first person and third person. And the secret to telling them apart? It's all in the pronouns. If the narrator is actually in the story, you're going to see words like I and me. But if the narrator is kind of floating above it all, like an outside observer, you'll hear he or she. It's the difference between being in the car chase versus watching it from a helicopter. Now, this is where it gets really cool. Third person actually has a couple of its own flavors. There's limited, which is like having that camera glued to one character's shoulder. We only see and know what they do. But then you have omniscient. And that's the all-knowing, almost godlike narrator who can jump into anyone's head anytime they want. All right, so that's the theory, but let's see how it works in practice. You up for a quick little quiz to check your skills? Come on, let's give it a shot. Okay, first one. I couldn't believe what I saw. What do you think? Take a second. And the answer is first person. Yep, that little pronoun I is the dead giveaway. It tells us the narrator is right there, living the story. Awesome. How about this one? She stared at the mirror, unsure of her reflection. Got it? If you said third person, you are absolutely right. The pronoun she puts the narrator on the outside, looking in. Simple enough, right? But now we're going to see how this simple little literary tool connects to something way, way deeper. So we've got the narrator's lens down, but what if we took that same exact idea and applied it to real life? I mean, point of view isn't just a term for English class. It's the lens we see the world through, and maybe more importantly, how we see each other. Let's dig into this with a really powerful idea from 1 Samuel. This introduces a whole new angle, right? It suggests there's the surface level view, what anybody can see on the outside, and then there's this much deeper point of view, one that sees what's really going on inside. This brings up a fascinating question. If we think about it in literary terms, judging someone only by what we see on the outside, that's like having a limited point of view. But this verse is talking about an omniscient view, one that understands the heart. It's this incredible parallel between how we tell stories and how we see people. So how do these two things really connect? The narrator's lens in a book and the lens we use to view people every day. Let's build that bridge. And this just nails the connection, doesn't it? Just like a character in a story, what a person shows on the outside doesn't always match what's happening inside. Authors use different points of view to show us that gap, to get us to the truth under the surface. So the real question becomes, can we learn to do that too? This leads us directly to a specific philosophy of education that's built on this very idea. The whole concept behind this approach is that learning isn't just about memorizing facts. It's about intentionally shaping a student's entire point of view. At its foundation is this one belief, that knowledge is an incredibly powerful tool. And the argument here is that without a moral compass, without a point of view that actually values the heart, that powerful tool can end up doing more harm than good. So the whole approach here is to blend these two worlds together. It takes a concept like point of view, straight out of an English lesson, and uses it as a springboard to teach something much bigger: empathy, understanding, and seeing people through a lens of compassion. The goal is to train the mind not just to analyze a story, but to try and understand a heart, all based on the belief that this kind of mindset is what leads to peace. And that's really what it's all about. We started with pronouns on a page, and we ended up here. So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. In your own life, in your own story, what changes when you shift your point of view to the heart?